just nice.
What's up guys, it's RevJ again. If you followed my build on this truck since the beginning, then this wheel and tire combo should be pretty familiar to you. I've had it since I rebuilt the thing the first time and put about 15,000 miles, potentially a little bit more, on the setup since I installed it. The wheels themselves are from Diamond Racing. It's a 15 by 12 wheel. Does have a bead lock on it. This one's a 5x5 for the bolt pattern that I have on my 5-lug C10. It's got a pretty high backspace. This thing runs, I think it's an 8.5 inch backspace, so I can clear this big meaty 15 by 12 wheel. Of course, it does have a bead lock on it, and you know what? Some people report problems with bead locks, issues sealing later, not really being designed for a full-time street tire. This thing doesn't get daily driven or anything, but it's definitely seen some street use, and the bead locks on it, well, they've been flawless since we torqued them down. Occasionally I do check them just to make sure nothing crazy's happened, but other than just checking on them once in a while, I've never had any major retorquing, never had to take them off and reseat them or anything like that. So the wheels and tires have been great, but like I said, I finally ordered a replacement, and it's probably time we should take a look at what I'm going to replace them with. You've seen a couple pictures if you follow me on social media, so if you don't, it's a good time to go ahead and do that. I'll have links on screen. What I got is from Holeshot Wheels, and I will say it took a while to get them, a little longer than I had hoped, but they're anodized, there were some other steps involved, and I think like anybody else, sometimes racing parts just take a little longer. So enough talking about those, let's bring them out and take a look at them. Ta-da! This is the new wheel we're going with. Like I said, it's from Holeshot Racing out of Florida. This is an all aluminum wheel. Again, this was a steel wheel. We finally went to an all aluminum wheel. I paid the price for it. They are extremely expensive, but not extremely expensive when compared to some of the other wheel manufacturers. These come in at about, depending how you configure them, depending the options you go with, right around $500 to $600 per wheel. This one does not have a bead lock, and we'll talk about why in a couple seconds. So there are a couple different construction methods involved here. We've got a spun aluminum shell. That means the housing is going to be extremely strong along the outside of that circle, which is what we want for a wheel. It also, with that strength, reduces the thickness of the overall material you have to have. If you look at some of the older cast aluminum wheels, even the Mickey Thompson front wheels that I have, which are heavy, I believe they're a cast and the machined aluminum, the overall material thickness and thus the overall weight is much higher. On a big wheel like this, and you'll look, there is no shortage of depth there. On a big wheel like this, you want to save the amount of mass anywhere you can. It's going to make things easier on your brakes. It's also going to translate to a little less parasitic horsepower loss on the dyno and then of course on the street. So it's a spun aluminum shell. Very nice. You've got that machine center. This is a 3-piece wheel. So you've got the 2 halves of the outer here and the center plate that goes in the middle and then gets torqued down on all of the hardware you see around here. Why did I not go with a bead lock this time? Well, I actually stepped down in size just slightly. These were a 15 by 12 here, the old wheels. The new Holeshots, I stepped down to a 15 by 11. It'll still let me run the 325/50, which is the street radial tire that I love, and there's also a couple other options. Nitto does a 325/50 15, so it's not just Mickey Thompson that I have to stick with. Now, I did choose to go with the black outer shell here. Again, black and blue has been kind of the theme on the entire truck. The gold, man, that was a little bit of sort of a debated change here. I talked with my buddies about it. I am a big fan of gold racing wheels. If you guys look at a lot of the old vintage races when mag wheels, actual magnesium wheels were a thing, I don't know, gold, it just seemed to be one of those things, the gold and bronze racing wheels. And so when I was finally going to spend the money on these, it was just kind of that midnight order. I'm going to go ahead and bite the bullet and go with gold. Now, I don't have the tires switched over yet, but we'll pop these over, we'll throw the rims on, make sure everything clears the way we want it to with this new size. so pop the camera off here and we'll take a little bit of a look at what we got going on. All right, so it slides on correctly. We know that, which is awesome. It fits the lug pattern. It is loose on here. We'll talk about that in just 1 second. Get in here, let's take a look at the width situation. It's as far as I can get the camera in there. I think, yep, plenty of width. No problem there at all. It's gonna come up nicely to our wheel opening. I do wanna drop it down before we check that. Take a look at the inside here. Plenty of room to our frame. If I get it in here on the trailing arm, plenty of room to the trailing arm. And everything else in there you can kind of see. So none of the old shock brackets or anything are going to be in the way. As a matter of fact, those old shock holders down there, they can come out because I don't need them. We've got our coilover suspension sitting over there. Even on a stock suspension though, this setup here should clear. I still have most of the stock stuff laying around just because I'm not using it because of this style here, but it all seems to clear. So I'm extremely happy with that. Let's take a look at a couple other things in terms of the fitment here. Let's take a step back real quick, look at that lug fitment again. Now it fits over the 5-on-5 pattern perfectly, which is a relief, although I wasn't too worried about that. Our drum brakes do not look pretty behind this. Again, that's a discussion for the future, but for right now, let's take a look at what we got. We have plenty of room around these lug holes. Normally you'd take your old lug nuts, and where'd they go here? And simply tighten those guys on here, like so, and crank them down. Now the problem with doing that is the old style GM lug nuts have that conical seat. Let's see if focus. Come on. There we go. That conical seat, and you can see there it tapers down towards where the actual lug bolt goes in, and that would sort of center itself on the hole in the rim. And these are a closed top. Now this, if you see, does not have a conical seat of any sort. It's got a machined flat surface. So in order to switch to this, a racing style wheel, you need to switch to more of a racing style lug nut, which I have right here. Now I got these from Larry Hodge Racing down in Illinois. Not only was he close by, but he had one of the better prices and he got me the stuff super fast. This is a shank style lug nut. The idea behind this being that this washer is going to sit in that little plane we had there. The shank itself is going to go through the hole in the rim, taking up that gap between the stud and the rim itself, and centering the wheel on these lugs, sort of basically making the wheel lug-centric instead of hub-centric. And it's not using a conical seat, it's using the interface between this here and the wheel. And when you pop these through, they come up just shorter than the depth of the wheel face, so that way you don't bottom them out and you have a positive engagement when you torque these down. And of course they are open-ended. That's just sort of a racing thing. You don't necessarily have to do it on the street. However, for racing, they're going to want to see you can have an open-ended lug, and in some are going to actually require that your stud sticks out a certain length beyond the lug itself. I don't remember what the rule is specifically. I think it's, what, a 1/2 inch or 7/16 or something, or the diameter of the stud past the nut. If you do NHRA or anything like that, some of them will be pretty particular about this. So since I had to order it anyway, I went ahead and ordered the compatible stuff. So we've got the right lug now. Let's go ahead and get all 5 of these on, tighten them down a little bit, and make sure the wheel sits comfortably. All right, so our lugs are on, and as you can see, they centered the wheel there as we worked them in. I did have to actually take one out and put it back in because even I'm not used to the way these love to seat on there yet. But once you do, it's an extremely positive engagement. This thing is rock solid up, down, and left and right on there. And it fits very nicely. No interruption with the drum or anything behind it. And now that we have it on tight, we can see, if you look down from our top angle, perfectly flush, oh, just about perfectly flush there with the actual wheel opening, front to back. About same thing right there. So, our wheel is on. And I can already tell I love the way it looks, but of course without a tire, you can't get the full picture of exactly how it's gonna look and sit. From a fitment standpoint though, all the areas we were worried about in terms of inner clearance, width, lip, and all of that, well, this thing is good to go. I am super happy with the way it's fitting. And if you're saying to yourself, man, you went through all that work, you've got a black rim, you went with the gold on the back, you've got gold hardware, what's the deal with the silver lug nuts? We've got kind of a solution for that. Now these things, because they're the special shank lug and they have to be half 20 right-hand thread and they have to be the short shank for these, there are not a million different options really. There's only a handful of companies that are making the lug nuts for them, and most of them are just your regular zinc plated or chromed steel. Plenty of companies have those, you just gotta find the right size. However, nobody really makes a black one. There are a couple companies, I should say, that do an aluminum lug that is actually black and machined. However, they want $50 for 5 lug nuts. Not to mention the fact that a bunch of the ones that offered in black were black and machined two-tones, so you still had exposed silver. How are we gonna solve that problem? Well, I have a possible solution that's working on the bench way over on that side, but I'm running on a little bit, guys. You see what I'm going with. I love the new wheels. Let me know what you think of the gold. Do you think I'm crazy for adding gold to a blue and black truck? Do you think it can work? Obviously the bed sides need to be blue eventually. So guys, like I said, I'm rambling on. I'm gonna test fit the other side, although it's gonna be the exact same thing, just to make sure. I'm super happy with the wheels. Let me know what you guys think in the comment below. And my old wheels will be up for sale pretty soon. If you guys are interested in something like that, you guys bought anything like this? How many of you guys have ordered custom racing wheels? I know Weld is popular. Maybe you guys haven't heard of Holeshot. I was super happy when I saw what they were offering and a pretty fair price they were offering it for. So I'm gonna wrap it up here, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. I got more coming from the 66 yet this year. We're squeaking out the last days of summer / into fall here that we can. Jazz hands? That's not really, I don't know what that is. And that's gonna do it for now, guys. As always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time, guys.